My last lesson is why we need each other. This is my favorite. And there we go. And why we need each other is the second half of love your neighbor as yourself. You know, we talked all about loving God, understanding that loving ourselves is a place of value. I did want to tell you one more thing about that. You know, I have done a lot of counseling in 25 plus years, and the one thing I have found is this. I remember when I was a brand new counselor, I had this man come, and he was dead set on marrying this beautiful woman. He was overweight and not real handsome, didn't take even very good care of himself. But he had met this woman at the Nordstrom counter, and he was dead set on marrying her. And she was just the most beautiful woman. And he really wanted to marry her. He had very low self-esteem for himself. He had very low value. This woman was going to give him value. He actually married her. On their honeymoon night, he said, "What's wrong with her that she'd like me?" And then began to devalue her. See, we'll go to our lowest common denominator. If you do not have an appropriate understanding and value for yourself, somebody liking you or valuing you, is there something wrong with them? And we'll devalue them. And then you do not get your needs met, and you don't get to find out why you need each other and why God gave us each other. And so today I want to finish up this wonderful time I've had with you guys. You're beautiful people. I just love you. Like I said, I've tried a couple times to get Scott to move here, and he's not going to do it. But what I really want you to learn today is why we need each other. And so I have, of course, our scorecard. What did I just do? Oh, here it is. Our scorecard. Now we got me and another person on there. So you have your relationship with God, score. You then have your relationship with yourself, score. And now you have your relationship with another person, score. Somebody you love. Okay? So don't pick a child unless they're a grown child and you have an adult relationship with them. But somebody you love or trust or want really good relationship with, that you live out life with. So now we have, let's say we have a high score with me and God, 8. And now I've got a pretty good score with me, we'll say another 7 or 8. And now, and I've had this really great relationship with other, and now it's at a 3. I could tell where the problem is. Maybe it's something I've done. Maybe it's something they've done. But now I know where I need to go in dealing with relationships. I need to go to that person and figure out what's wrong. Kind of like Kelly and Leanne were saying. And so another way of recognizing where you are in relationship is me and other. You can, if you don't, you tell me, you come to me and you say, "Carol, I need to get to New York," which happens all the time in therapy. They don't say New York, but they say, "I need to learn how to X," right? I'm going to say, where are you right now? Because if you're in Georgia, the directions to New York are very different than if you're in California. So that's why this scorecard is so important. I really want you to understand this. It's the GPS. You got to know where you are to get to where you want to be. If you don't know where you are score-wise, you're not going anywhere. You're just spinning around in a circle. And so I challenge you and start asking people, what's your scores? How's your scores? Okay? I would love it if you guys had that kind of relationship going here, okay? And if you forget why, or you forget, oh yeah, what does it matter? What does that mean? Ask me, I'll tell you. You can call me, I'll tell you. You know, if I want to love well, I've got to have God's love. And it's kind of like, if I don't have $1, I can't give $1. We passed out dollars. Do you have $1? You do? Yay. Can I see it for a minute? Thank you. She just gave me her $1 because she had one. She had something to give me. It is one of the dollars. Okay, it's actually a real dollar. These are hard to get, you guys. I mean, we went to bank after bank after bank. No. So anyway, just out of loving you. But some of you have a bigger coin. Anybody else got a bigger coin? Somebody show me theirs. It's a big, okay, there you go. Look at hers. She has a much bigger coin. That isn't $1. That's a $50. Sorry. But if you look at love as something you can give away only if you have it, it's the point is you can't give $1 if you don't have $1. You can't, pockets are empty. And so when you don't have $1, there's a problem there when people come to you for it. In fact, you can get bankrupt trying to give away what you don't have. The other thing that's really interesting about this is this. Do you know how the Treasury men for the United States government learn how to find counterfeit money? What's that? They study the real. You don't have to study all the different counterfeits. You need to know real. When you're looking for a safe person, you don't have to figure out all the counterfeits. Find real. Figure out what real is, and then you're good. Okay? So, you can't give $1 if you don't have $1. You only find a counterfeit by understanding the real. When God says it's not good for you to be alone, Adam, he needed to meet his need. And, Adam said, now I've got somebody face to face. His need was met. Someone to love. We all have that need. We all have the need to have someone to love. The funny thing is, typically, when we meet somebody to marry, or we're looking to marry, we say things. In fact, it's so funny because I have a woman, sweet, sweet woman, who's just been blowing up my phone. She's met this guy. He so gets me. He's just the perfect, he's perfect for me. He's so smart and so cute. He gets what I need, And we end up marrying that person. And our vow is that we will love them, love and cherish and honor them till death do us part, right? The crack up is, that's baloney, which a lot of people find out between 7 and 10 years, because the vow really needs to be this. I will love you as much as God loves me, and I will love God and focus on him in order to have love. Because see, you can't manufacture love. You can't manufacture that $1. You only have it if it's given to you. The only love there is God. God is love. Carol is not love. God is love. So when I marry, I think he's going to give all this to me. He can't. He only can do what God has given him. That's what an L principle is. And so the vow needs to be, I vow to always connect to God first in order to love you with that love. The other thing that's really cool about that is the more you give from loving God, the more you get. You can't outgive God. So what you're going to do with that $1 is, I hope tomorrow or sometime soon, you're going to give it away. I would love it if you guys just kept giving your dollars away. You can give your 50-cent pieces too. But give it to somebody. Give it to somebody. Okay? I want to explain the L principle a little bit more to you. And I'm going to tell you the story of David and Jonathan in the L principle because it's 1 Samuel 7 through 31. It is my favorite story in the Bible. It is my favorite story in the Bible. When I learned this, it changed my life. See, David was the shepherd boy who showed up when the Philistines were taunting and fighting the Israelites, and nobody would go out there and fight Goliath. Remember this? Saul was king. Jonathan was Saul's son. Jonathan was in line to be the heir of the throne. David shows up. Nobody's going to fight this giant. I'm going to fight him. I can't believe you guys are like insulting God like this by not even trusting him. He goes out there, one stone, kills him, cuts off Goliath's head, gives it to Saul. He honors Saul. He sees that Saul's the king. By the way, it had already been established by Samuel that David was going to be king, not Jonathan. So Saul starts loving David, happy to have him in the courts and all that. But David's going out and killing all these Philistines. And so when David comes through the town, the women are screaming, crying. Saul has his thousands. David has his 10,000s. Saul gets jealous. Saul's an ugly man. He gets really jealous. And he gets so jealous, he wants to kill David. Now, by the way, Jonathan is now conned to David and said, their hearts were knit together. He saw the good in David. He saw what David was doing. He saw how David was this really neat man of God, and Jonathan wanted to knit his heart to David. This is the heir who's going to lose that to David. And so they go on. And it comes about that it's obvious to David that Saul is planning to kill him. So David tells Jonathan this, and Jonathan says, no way. And David says, yeah, it's true. He is trying to. And by the way, when David if you go through 1 and 2 Samuel, you will see that David comes in and goes out. It says, David went in and comes out, and David goes out. Now, what David was doing is this, and you'll see it all throughout it. Highlight them. When David was depleted and needed more love, more of God, he went in. He went into the temple. And when he was filled and ready to go to the armies or fight more Philistines or whatever, he went out. So he came in and he went out, all to receive and give God's love. So David tells Jonathan, yeah, your dad's trying to kill me. And Jonathan says, there is no way. He's not trying to kill you. And so they hatched this plan. The new moon festival's coming up. If I'm not going to go, David says, if your dad asks where I am, tell him, I had to go home. And if your dad gets mad, we know he's trying to kill me. If he doesn't, then we'll know he's not. And so they also planned, because this was very secret, that Jonathan the next day would go out to the field, and the way he shot his arrows would tell David, yes, my dad's trying to kill me, or no, you're safe. It was very scary. So Jonathan shows up at the 3-day festival, or 3-day, festival. Saul doesn't say anything because David's not there. The second day, Saul asked Jonathan, where's David? And Jonathan said he had to go home. And Saul was so furious at Jonathan, he picked up his javelin and threw it at him. Jonathan knew David's life is in danger and David has to run. That means they don't get to hang out anymore. And quite possibly he's going to die. Jonathan goes out to the field. He's crushed. He is devastated. He loves this man enough, so much, that the heir to the throne is fine with giving that up for that man. He knows that man needs to be the king. So he goes out to the field and he shoots his arrows that say, yeah, David, my dad's trying to kill you. David was so sad. He couldn't just leave. He had to go say goodbye to Jonathan. So he runs out there and they have this really beautiful goodbye. And Jonathan says, have a covenant with me that you will take care of my family if I die. David says, of course. You'll take care of my family if I die. Of course. And they part. And David takes off and is chased by Saul all over the country as Saul's trying to kill him. David loved Saul and Jonathan. He really honored Saul. God had made Saul king. He honored that. When he had chances to kill Saul, he didn't do it. He didn't want to hurt Saul. And so eventually, Saul and Jonathan are killed by the Philistines. Saul killed himself because he was injured and the Philistines were coming and he knew that they would torture him and trash him. So he killed himself. The Philistines show up, they cut off their heads, hang their bodies on the gates of Gilboa. And David hears about this. His sweet, precious friend's body is hanging on those gates. They're dead. When that happened, everyone was trying to kill off all of Saul's family line. All the sons, daughters, cousins, whoever, because those people would become king. Killed them all off. David, it took 7 years to become king of Israel and Judah. They had all kinds of wars and all this stuff. And by the way, David had taken their bodies down and burned them. So David finally becomes king. And the first thing he does, as he says, this is 7 years later, is there anybody left of Jonathan's that I can love for the sake of Jonathan? Does Jonathan have any kids left at all? Anybody I can love for the sake of him? That's love. And so you know what I think in my life? If that happened to the people I love, I'd find their kids to love for the sake of who I love. You know, the servants told David, there's this one lame guy. He's totally lame in both legs. He lives in Lodabar, which is a really social outcast place, because when he was 5, he was running from getting killed. He's Jonathan's only son left. And the nurse had dropped him and his feet had become lame. Something happened. And he's lame. Now, back then, they didn't have nice, clean hospitals and wheelchairs and all this pretty stuff. This man crawled and had gnarled up, nasty sores. Flies get in there, maggots, nasty legs. It's not pretty at all. And he lives in a social outcast place. David says, go get him. His name was Mephibosheth. Please go get him. So they go get Mephibosheth. He has no clue why. He doesn't know what's wrong. He thinks David wants to kill him. And David says, you will eat at my table for the rest of your life because of Jonathan. He gave him all of Jonathan's land. He hired the guy to take care of it because this guy's lame. He had this guy live the rest of his life with his family in David's palace for the sake of Jonathan. See, this is El principle. You know, if you think about us and how Jesus came and rescued us, and how we are so crippled and nasty and beat up and on our good days, but we are loved for the sake of Jesus. And you get to do the same thing. You get to find people to love for the sake of Jesus. That's L principle love. You're getting the source of your love from the only source there is. You are not going to be able to sustain your love for your husband on your own. I'm just telling you that right now. You know, there's a lot of times I tried to do that with Scott. We've been married 47 years, and it didn't work. Nothing worked for a long time. You know, it's funny because he's been retired now for a few years, and if he was home on a 3-day weekend, by the 3rd day, I was loony. In fact, at one point in time, this is so sad, but I know there's other people in this room who have the same story. I figured that the only way this would work is if he ended up dead. I was waiting for him to die. I even took out $1 million life insurance policy because I had no right to divorce him. I just couldn't stand him. I wasn't too easy to love either, huh? No. And so the problem wasn't Scott. The problem was I ran out of love. I ran out of my own love. The only way I could love him was from the true source. That's L principle love. We need each other precisely for that reason. We need each other, and the only way we can love enough is from God. You know, there's this really amazing video I want to show you. Don't miss it. It's beautiful, and it explains tremendously how the church is all of us and how we need each other. I'll show it to you.
Intently watching the buffalo who are moving right over there. This could be very interesting. That is a huge buffalo.
That's a huge buffalo.
It's a huge buffalo.
Even the lion.
Yeah, they're too young. The one's gone already.
Don't you think they're around the other way? There's a little.
I don't know. I think they're a bit young. I don't know. Maybe. Oh, he's looking at me. They're getting ready.
They're crouching.
She's quite big.
Does that mean attack position?
Yeah, it's a attack position.
Where's that female? I can't see it. This is amazing. They're running away. I think the bull's gonna...
Uh-oh. What's the bull gonna do?
Oh my God.
Can we grab the baby?
Oh my God.
I'll grab the baby.
She's going for him. She's going for him. She caught him. Oh, she did. She got him.
Hey, he's gone. He's just clocked a buffalo here.
Oh my God. God, did you see that? Yeah. Oh my God, yes.
Unbelievable.
You didn't have a fight in this ground and you
Oh, guys, I'm shaking. Can you believe this? Yeah, the buffalo are coming to help this one now. Watch.
They're too
They'll
late.
come and help this baby. Watch.
They're too late. Can they help him now, Frank?
Yeah, they can.
He's still alive, you think?
Oh, he's still alive.
My goodness.
Rustle for Frank.
They're trying to drag him out. They're dragging him out.
Hulle het nou net 'n kleintjie gevang. Hier's lekker action hier so, jong. Hulle het 'n kleintjie hier so in die water en die krop is besig om nader te kom.
It's on its back. I hope they kill it quickly.
Oh, it's still alive.
Ja, positief. Hulle het 'n klein buffeltjie gevang hier so.
There's a crocodile there too.
Ja, daar's 'n krokodil ook. Daar gaan 'n krokodil ook die kleintjie. Yes.
Crocodile. Coming out
Look at
Yeah,
that.
check through the banners. The croc's trying to grab the baby.
Yes. Oh, good gracious.
Look at this. The crocodile's taking that baby away.
Little thing getting oh my God. They're two crocodiles.
They're going to lose it.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
they're going to fight over it.
Jeez, I'm shaking.
Oh my God.
Oh, he's coming for huge crocodile. Three.
Oh, look at those. Oh,
The lions have won.
the lions have won.
Oh, the lions have won.
Yeah, but look at all those buffalo coming.
No, they're going to come and try and chase the lion, but I think they're too late.
I think you're right. They're way too late now.
They're going to chase him. Come on.
No, they're too late.
Oh, look at the teeth.
Look at them. They're going to chase him.
Teeth, Jay. You're too late.
Check this.
You're too late.
You guys, you cannot believe what's going on here. There's a big barrier between lions, crocodiles, and buffaloes.
Look at them all.
Whoa! He swatted at him and kicked at him. He's kicking at him. Look, he's kicking at him.
Look at him run.
Ja, julle ouens, julle moet sien wat hier aangaan, jong. Die buffels is besig om die leeu's te omsingel hierso en hulle want die leeu's het 'n klein njattie gevang. En hierdie njatties wil die leeu's nou bykom. Hulle jag die leeu's links en regs.
Ooh, they got him surrounded.
Ja, jy kan maar kom, jong. Hier's
And that one's.
Ooh!
Chasing him.
Big boy.
Go on, John.
Oh my God.
Chasing him. Will he go in the water?
You got the lion on him, run.
That little buffalo's still alive.
Brave pig of the goose. The others are doing those. They're getting them at the other end. Go on, Buffalo.
Yes. Can you believe this?
Never seen that before.
I've never seen anything like
The
that.
calf's still alive.
It is?
Yeah, it's trying to get away. It's standing up.
It is, it's still alive. Oh, is it? Oh, and they're putting them into the water. It's standing up. It's standing up. It's run away.
Ja, they've got
He's
us back.
gone.
It's got it back.
They've got him back. They do have him back.
Ja, hierdie buffels het die leeu's weggevat van hy kleintjie af en
They're going back. They're coming to the other ones. They're chasing him.
We're still chasing.
check.
Back in with the herd. And they're two lions. Oh, they're going back. No, they're two lions there.
This is the most amazing thing I've ever seen.
I've never seen anything like that.
Look, we're running. Look at them running.
There's two left.
Gee, they chased him away.
Woohoo! Did anybody get the analogy of that? It's exactly why we need each other. That dad and mom and the baby got too far out from the group, and the baby is who they encircled to take. So I got a question for you. Which one of you are willing to give up your kid? See, because if you had a kid, if you've had a baby, if you had a son, daughter, and you've raised them, and they don't go to heaven, what was the point of having them? It's not okay. You've got a job to do. You need all of us. I need all of you. We can't do it alone. That's L principle love. You know, one of the greatest pleasures of my life is being Jesus with skin on. In loving and being loved by God first, to overflowing, I learned to love others as myself. Now, John put it this way in 1 John. He said, and this is Jesus' one, remember? He said, what we've seen and heard and touched and beheld with our eyes, we proclaim to you. See, they had an experiential understanding of Jesus. They had touched him and held him, looked at him in the eye. And now they wanted to be that for other people. That's called being Jesus with skin on. That's the safest person you can be. You know, it also says that his love compels us. That kind of love compels people to want to love. One of the greatest things somebody can say to me in my practice, in serving them, is doing this work makes me want to love Jesus more. Makes me feel closer to him. That's why I got into therapy. And you don't have to be a therapist to do that. See, every day people are needing Jesus with skin on. People are needing people who are filled with love, who have it to give, who are willing to. Yes, Lord? Who are willing to give it to him. You know, remember on Friday I told you I was going to tell you a little bit more about suffering and what that has to do with this whole thing? What in the world does suffering have to do with this? And the idea of chancing being intimate? You know, there's this, I don't know what you'd call it, math equation that I came up with that says this: pain plus comfort equals joy. Pain plus comfort equals joy. Now, I got that from Moses and the burning bush. Moses is walking along and he sees this bush that's on fire and not being consumed. That means it's not burning up, it's just on fire. And in the middle of that bush is Jesus standing there. So Moses turns aside, as they say. He's going to look at this. Jesus says to Moses, take your shoes off, you're standing on holy ground. Looks like dirt to him. I mean, what's holy about it, right? So Moses takes his shoes off, is respectful, and Jesus says, I have come down to see the pain of my people. The way he said it is this: in seeing, I have seen. In seeing, I have seen. In seeing adverb, I have seen noun. What he's saying is this: in experiencing the pain of my people, I now get it. Seeing, I have seen. So what does that have to do with pain plus, pain plus comfort equals joy? Well, the word comfort is a compound word that means together strength. Together strength. So I will tell you right now, if you are not in a dark night of the soul at this moment, you will be soon. It's one of the things that is for sure in this life. There's pain around the corner. It's coming. And as you experience that pain, you need together strength. You need the group of water buffalo who together strength comforts you. And in the morning comes joy. Maybe things haven't even changed. You know, I've had a lot of pain in my life, not just in childhood. I have had a lot of pain in my life. And this I know, that in the sweet, precious women who loved me through it, my husband who's loved me through it, I have felt the comfort and the joy of the Lord. Pain plus comfort equals joy. You don't have to say anything to him. You don't have to have an answer for him. You don't have to do anything. Just sit there and be there for him. Now, why is that holy? Remember, it's holy. Well, Jesus is standing there seeing this, experiencing this pain, and this bush is not being consumed. And when I am experiencing tremendous pain, and I'm not consumed by it, the world says, how does that happen? It's holy. It attests to Jesus in my life. See, pain plus comfort equals joy. And I end up in a place of holiness out of what Jesus has given me. It is very hard and a great honor to be in that place. All of you, if you're not there now, are going to be there soon. See, the other thing I know for sure is this. I have had, at times, a really tough life, like I told you. When we had Scotty, we'd been married 7-8 years and desperately wanted a child. I wanted a son so bad. I wanted a child so bad. Because what I wanted was someone to love the Lord. I thought that's the best gift I could give him is another human being who worships and honors him. That's like the best gift I could give him. And so I had Scotty. We had Scotty. And by the time, I was holding him, and I felt the fear come over me that Scotty wasn't safe. And by the time he was 4, I realized that my parents weren't safe with Scotty. But the way that came about was, remember that I told you about the psychotic break I nearly had? It was really awful. I started having flashbacks. I started feeling the pain of things that they had done to me that my body bears witness to even today. I started realizing my little boy was not safe. I started realizing I'm the monster. Remember that part? I started fearing that if I told, I'd die. Scotty would die, Scott would die. It got to the point where I had a loaded shotgun in the closet, living room closet. My plan was to kill my parents and then kill myself. It was my only hope. It was the best way to get out of this pain because I had no other idea or hope of getting out of this pain. And Scott and my sister figured out my plan. Scott took me to this woman named Patty. And Patty was like that woman at the end of the pew. She simply saw me, heard me, believed me, accepted me, and loved me. She was my Jesus with skin on. And you know what? For 15 plus years, twice a week. I went into her office and gave her the most horrific stuff. So it was so bad that she actually ended up with secondary PTSD from it. And it endangered her life and her kids to know this. And she became my spiritual mama. She taught me what my own mother had never given me. I got to experience the comfort and the love of Jesus like I did with that woman in the red dress. See, Jesus swore to redeem my pain. And he did that for me. And what I learned from this is this. Number one, it is a great honor to be a spiritual mama. Oh, it's the best honor in my life. It's a great honor to love their kids. And redemption always wins. If you don't know where Jesus was in your darkest night, find him. He was there. He came to redeem it. And he already has. Redemption always wins. That's holy. And getting to be Jesus with skin on, a spiritual mama for somebody, means they get to walk this out differently. They get to heal and experience and give that to somebody else too. My greatest honor is that I have women in my life. 20 years ago, I was spiritual mama for, still am probably, but now they are to others. It's awesome. And if I could just give you one thing today in that mentoring idea, be a spiritual mama for someone and let somebody be your spiritual mama. His love compels us. There is nothing easier in wanting to do or have with the Lord. It makes you want to hang out with the Lord. That's relationship. That's what we were made for. I want to end with a quote from C.S. Lewis, because really what we're talking about in this whole place comes down to a couple of words, different words than Kelly was trying to find. But here's what the word is. It's fear of rejection. I'm afraid of being rejected. Even more, I'm afraid of being abandoned. It is the two greatest fears we have. And both of those come from a place of, I got to be vulnerable. I got to be vulnerable. See, and what do? I fear this. I don't want this, but I want vulnerability. You know, I can remember I lived very hard. I didn't need anybody. Even though I had Scott, we used to fight about that. I don't need you. I so need you now. And the whole thing was this. I can remember the day I was, we had this house up in Arrowhead that had a loft that we would sleep in while my parents and this other set of parents played cards. And I can remember laying there, hearing my mother and these people laugh at how I would beg her to stop when she was beating me. They thought it was funny how I'd beg her to stop. And that day, it entered my soul. I will never show her that again. The sadism in that, I will not do. And I would stand there and get beat and harder she was desperately trying to get me to beg her to stop. So I grew up very hard, very fast. The problem is, when Scott and I had this, we started this nonprofit for Christian marriages in trouble on the brink of divorce. And so these men sometimes were really mean, ugly men. And I would stand there face to face with them. They weren't going to get to me. The really sad thing is, they hurt my family. We had repercussions of Scott and Scotty being hurt for years. I was hurt too, nobody's gonna know it. That lie desperately hurt me, even though what we were doing was successful and blah, 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 and all that. It had a huge cost. The enemy doesn't care. It's like those lions. The enemy doesn't care about anything except for getting you to get off the holy ground and shut up. You have a choice about what you'll do. So, really the choice is, do I stay afraid of being rejected, afraid of being abandoned, or do I become vulnerable? To love it all is to be vulnerable. Love anything and your heart will certainly be wrung and possibly broken. If you want to make sure of keeping it intact, you must give your heart to no one. Wrap it carefully round with hobbies, little luxuries. Avoid all entanglements. Lock it up safe in the casket or coffin of your selfishness. But in that casket, safe, dark, motionless, airless, it will change. It will not be broke. It will become unbreakable, impenetrable, irredeemable. The only place outside of heaven where you can be perfectly safe from all the dangers of love is hell. So if God cautions his people to not have hardened hearts, then best not to hide from being vulnerable. Being vulnerable, meaning capable of being wounded, we are called to forgive and be restored, which means being vulnerable and not putting up with walls in our heart so that we don't get hurt again. But in being willing to do so, you are surrendering to God. You are fully trusting him in that moment rather than man. If we protect our hearts from getting hurt, we limit what God is capable to do in our lives. Jesus came to heal the brokenhearted. You can bet on it. He does. Thank you so much for your attention, for your encouragement, for your hugs. I really have enjoyed this weekend, and I'm very grateful. Thank you.